All right, welcome back to the Conviction Fiction, where we're all about shifting the narrative around life after incarceration and more. I'm your host, Antoine Rivers, and today we are diving deep into the powerful work that's actually reshaping how we think about hiring and the people we often overlook. Our guest today is Robyn Grable, the founder and president of the Sin Collective, a nonprofit dedicated to empowering underserved communities, including veterans, military spouses, individuals with diverse abilities, and second chance candidates. Now, Robyn's groundbreaking work in talent matching through AI technology has revolutionized how we connect people to meaningful employment. But her journey doesn't just stop there. A Navy veteran herself, Robyn's personal experience with systemic barriers facing people, especially those with criminal records, has fueled her mission to break down these walls and open up real opportunities. We're going to explore how second chance hiring isn't just a nice idea, it's a critical pathway to community transformation. But before we dive in, let's go ahead and talk about the conviction fiction. Hi, welcome, Robyn. That music always gets everybody
I know. I love
out
it.
of
That was
nowhere. All right.
well, thank you,
Thank,
Antoine. I appreciate you letting me be here.
thank you. Thank you again for joining us. So let's start with your organization, the Sin Collective. Now, you're doing
Absolutely.
incredible work advocating for second chance candidates and other underserved talent communities. Can you share with us the vision behind the Sin and why this work is so important?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for the opportunity again to talk about it. So, I am a Navy veteran, as you mentioned. I served from 1979 to 1988 at a time when women weren't allowed to do certain roles. So, my advocacy and fighting for skills and fighting for the underserved talent really started then. Because I would always say, if I have the skills, if I can do the job, if I have the same strength, the same education, whatever that the men have, why can't I do the job? And the answer was simply because I was a female. So I faced barriers right from the start. And so that really started my advocacy journey. But then I got out of the Navy after 9 years with a lot of skills to bring to the table: data processing, computer programming, a lot of things. But I didn't know how to translate them. I didn't know how to speak to civilian companies because I'd really never had a civilian job outside of working at the grocery store while I was in high school.
Mhm.
So that really helped. It really sparked me to say, okay, what's happening? And for the first 12 years I was out of the Navy, I spent in 10 different jobs, 4 different states, trying to find my purpose. It kind of all came to a head about 10 years ago, when I got involved with a veteran service organization here in South Carolina, and which also got me involved with the Veteran Treatment Court, which I know we'll talk about in a little bit. And then really my whole journey was starting with veterans, military spouses, diversely abled, and second chance, because those are personal to me. I am a veteran. I'm a service disabled veteran. I was a military spouse. And I have a brother that's currently incarcerated. So all of these communities are very near and dear to my heart. And I want to help them survive and thrive as they journey through those experiences.
Yeah, which is very important because you never know the trauma or having the challenges
Yeah.
that you face with that. And I know you're going to speak on that. Now, your nonprofit works with individuals who are often overlooked, such as those veterans, the military spouses that you talked about, and even people with criminal records. What are the
Yeah.
most significant systemic barriers that you've encountered when trying to create pathways to meaningful employment?
Yeah. Well, the entire hiring process is broken. It's really broken for everyone, but particularly for veterans, military spouses, diversely abled, and justice impacted, because of the filters that these corporations have put on their applicant tracking systems to say, do you have industry experience, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it may be? Do you have a certain education level or an education in a certain degree? Do you have this, that, or the other? And so they look for those things to filter people out instead of filtering people in on what they can do and what they can contribute, they're trying to put people out because of where they've been, maybe what they didn't accomplish, instead of looking at what they have accomplished, what skills they do have, and how they can contribute those skills, regardless of ethnicity, background, age, gender, any of that stuff. It doesn't matter. It matters what skills you have. Doesn't matter how you earned them. Doesn't matter why you earned them. It matters that you have them, no matter who you are. But the barriers that these applicant tracking systems put in place filter out these certain communities 95% of the time.
Wow. So what role does advocacy play in changing this perception? Because I mean, I don't think the public even knows this, right?
No.
When it comes to second chance hiring, and what do you think are some of the ways that we can shift the narrative away from seeing these individuals as risk or to viewing them as valuable assets instead of liabilities?
Well, obviously getting out there and talking to people, and this is an opportunity for us to share our mission and tell why we do what we do. You know, there are 70 million Americans that have some criminal records, some level of justice impacted. How many Americans is that? Like, there's so many Americans that are in that category, but have skills that businesses need. And it just drives me crazy that you just overlook somebody because of a mistake they made years ago, 50 years ago. They've paid the price for that, and they'll continue to pay the price for that for the rest of their lives. But why not give them a chance to have a second opportunity for a great career, a great opportunity to support their families, stop recidivism, stop government assistance necessities, stop substance abuse issues, all of these things. They apply to every one of the communities that we advocate for. So we're out there, Joan of Arc, top of the mountain, saying you need to look at people differently. There is no talent shortage. There's just a shortage of how we look at talent. The talent's out there, right? And if you want hardworking, dedicated people who will work hard for your business, give somebody a second chance at a great life. They will work hard for you. They don't want it. People don't want to go back to being incarcerated. But if you give them no choice of not having a great career, not being able to support their families, not being able to get out of the environment that put them in that place in the first place, if you don't give them that opportunity, they're going to be on government assistance that we're all paying for. They're going to end up back in trouble because recidivism is real. Their family members, because I think, and you probably know this better than me, 52% of those incarcerated are fathers, mothers, parents.
Yeah.
They've got children at home who now see, well, my mom can't get a job after she went to jail, so the only life for her is to be in trouble. The only life for me is to be in trouble. That doesn't have to happen. And we need people out there advocating for these human beings because we are human beings. We all make mistakes. Every one of us has made mistakes. Not all of us have been caught doing mistakes.
Great point. Great point. Because
yes, we've all made mistakes, right?
You face the personal challenges, even in your advocacy, especially with your brother currently incarcerated. So how has that experience influenced the way you approach your work in dismantling these barriers?
Yeah, it really, it drives me to make a world that he can come out of prison and have a life again. He fell victim to the opioid crisis, had back surgery, neck surgery, and his doctors overprescribed opioids and he got hooked on them. And then his doctors dropped him the insurance and he couldn't afford to pay for it. And unfortunately, he was addicted at that point and ended up in prison because of it. So I want him to have a life to come out to. I want him to have something that values him as the human being I know he is. Right. And I want others to see that human being in him. And just like veterans and military spouses, there's a human being there that is somebody's mom, that is somebody's daughter, that is somebody's brother. and we should value that rather than discounting just because somebody made a mistake or just because somebody chose to be a military spouse and serve our country, not in the limelight, but behind the scenes in a very thankful way. But,
Yeah.
we have to value the humans.
Yeah. Now, talking about valuing humans, we're going to talk about the tech behind the work. Now,
Yeah.
Robyn, you've pioneered the use of AI powered skills based talent matching
Yep.
through Talents Ascend. Now, how does this technology work, and why is it so effective in connecting individuals with criminal records to employment opportunities?
Yeah, it's so effective because it's so simple. It's removing all the barriers. So, I've been in HR a long time.
Mhm.
I understand why large corporations built the applicant tracking systems to filter people out. Their intention wasn't necessarily bad in the beginning, but it has gone bad in that time frame. We just need to go back to the simple days when, you walked into the grocery store and you sat down with the manager and you said, "These are my skills. This is what I'd like to do. Is there a fit for me here?" I mean, that's that human interaction, that easy, I hear all my skills. What skills do you need? Conversation. So that's what we built. We built a system that looks at the skills that you gain from your experience, your education, your volunteer work, even being incarcerated. They have jobs. My brother's a tutor. He was a blind tutor for a while. So he's gained skills from that experience. We
Wow.
take all of that and put it onto a skills profile, ask you where you want to be located in the US, what your salary requirement is, and that's it. We don't use a resume or an application first process because that's where the barriers are. That's where the bias shows up. I'm
Wow.
gonna,
I think I'm going to shoot my I'm gonna sign up
yeah, absolutely.
tomorrow
Because
because
it's really, yeah, go ahead, Antoine. Sorry.
no worries, because I just want to I'm absorbing this, and it's amazing how you say, like, we're just going to match you and put you where you would best fit.
Yep.
So can you walk us through how the AI talent matching system actually matches individuals with the employees, which you kind of explained just now, but what makes this approach different from traditional hiring practices?
Absolutely. So candidates put in their profile. Again, we translate their experience into skills. They put in where they want to live in the US, what their salary requirement is, any education. They can put any of that stuff in there. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Employers come to us, they tell us what careers they're trying to fill. We plug those into our platform. The AI translates those careers into skills. We ask for the location and the salary information, and then the AI matches those careers to candidates. And then
Wow.
we review those matches, and it's instant. I mean, when you think about AI, one of the brilliant things about it is that it can do, uh, you know, calculations. It can do, matching like that in the blink of an eye. No human can do it that fast or effectively, quite honestly, because the system isn't looking for any of those identifying marks that humans look for. It's
Hmm.
just saying, here's the skills I need. Here's a candidate with those skills. Match the two together. Have a conversation. It's that
Wow.
simple. We don't
How have the employers responded to this system? Have you seen a shift in the way they view second chance candidates? They find out later on, oh, I didn't know you did 10 years in prison. Like, how does
right.
that work?
Yeah. Well, now we do have the candidates identify if they're in a category, so they can identify as being a veteran, a military spouse, diversely abled, or justice
Self
impacted.
identity. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Self identity. We don't ask them anything about their situation. So we don't know anything about their record. We don't even know if they were incarcerated, because a lot of times you can have a criminal record and have never gone to prison or jail. It's part of the fact. But
Mhm.
but when the employers see their profile, we're getting them to focus on the skills. This is a human being with the skills you need. They're located where you want them to be, and their salary, what they're requiring, fits into the range you're offering. Why do you need to know anything else about that person before you sit down and talk to them? We don't need you to have any other clouds in your mind about any bias, about any judgments, about any barriers. All we want you to do is see this human being, look at their skills, and have a conversation about their skills and how they can contribute to your organization, because that's really the issue. people can't get to that interview. They can't get to that step because if you would just talk to me and know, I mean, I'm a service disabled veteran. I have invisible scars. I have invisible disabilities. You can't, I'm not missing an arm. You can't see my disabilities. But if you look at my resume and it says service disabled veteran on it, you're going to make assumptions about me. You're not going to know what my disabilities are, but you're going to know I have one. You're going to make assumptions about me. Now you're not even going to talk to me. You miss out on such a great person. I think about my brother. He used to own a Jiffy Lube. I mean, he's run a dump truck on highway construction. He's got so many skills. And I don't want people to just see him for having been in prison for 10 years. I
Right.
don't want people to judge him because there's so much more to him. But that's how easy it is. And to answer your question, there have been employers who've pushed back. They've said, I need a resume. I need to see where somebody's been for the last 10 years. And then I push back and say, why? Tell me what you're looking for. What do you expect that person to have done, or what skills do you think that person will have achieved in that time frame? That's what we want to look for. It doesn't matter. I could have worked somewhere for 10 years. 9 of it, I wasn't doing a very good job. You don't know that, and you'll never know that. But if I don't have the skills you need, and not to mention, if I've learned the skills at somebody else's business and you want me to learn them a different way at your business, doesn't it matter if I have the aptitude? Not
Right.
that I've done their job before. Maybe
Ability,
I
nimbleness,
right?
yes.
The ability. Yes. So that's what it's about. And I get all excited about it because it just
That's
fires me
awesome.
up.
Okay, so could you share a success story or two where this AI talent matching directly impacted someone's ability to land a job and start their second chance journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got several. I mean, we match thousands of candidates every day through the technology. And so there's one in particular, a Navy veteran in Jacksonville, wanted to move to Baltimore, got into our program. His wife actually found us and told him to create his profile. He created the profile matched to a nonprofit up in Baltimore the very next day, had an interview the very next day, and a job the next day. So that was one of our best success stories, and it happened very quickly. And it was a nonprofit working in a house, for housing for disadvantaged, and so he found a purpose in that work, which he never would have found otherwise, and they wouldn't have found him because of the barriers that they were putting in place until they came to us. So that was one of our best success stories. I worked with the Veteran Treatment Court. This was actually before we created the AI, but I was a mentor for the Veteran Treatment Court, which, if the listeners don't know, it's a program where veterans who get into trouble can go through a 12-month program. Every week they go before a judge, they get assigned a mentor. And at the end of the 12 months, if they've done everything they need to in the program, they can get their record expunged.
Wow.
And so it's a really great program. And so I was a mentor, and one of the kids in there, I call him a kid because he's much younger than me, but Army veteran, got into trouble when he came back from Iraq, and he could not get a job, and he couldn't, because part of the problem is he himself didn't know how. Just like when I got out of the Navy, I didn't know how to tell my story without talking about my past. I didn't know how to project who I was and the skills I brought to the table. And he had the same problem. But when we got to talk he ended up working for a golf course as a facilities maintenance manager. And when we got to talking about his skills and the skills that he earned in the Army, that's what got him the job and got him the interview. And then he got to talk about how he can contribute. So it's all about just opening up those doors and not having to defend what you've done or where you've been, but to promote and be proud of who you are and the skills you bring to the table to contribute to an organization.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Like when you that story, I mean, I normally don't, when I'm on a podcast, like really fully understand the the gratefulness that I have for you guys coming on, because to have him have struggles telling his story, I think that's what most of our listeners have the problem or the trouble with, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Without explaining the past off. Every time you
Yes.
talk about it, it's like, hey, yeah, I have this happened, this happened, this happened, but that's not who you are.
Right.
That's amazing, and I'm
Yeah.
going to look deeper into. I've looked at some of the work that you're doing, but I think I'm going to take a deeper look. Maybe drop the application or two.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the great thing about our service, Antoine, because you can take your skills profile that's free to
Mhm,
create that. And then we've got a Northern Compass Academy that candidates
mhm.
can go through. It helps them learn how to brand, personal branding, learn how to
Yeah,
talk about
yeah,
your
that's
skills,
awesome.
learn how to negotiate your conversations. And you get a career coach with that. Again, all free. But what we really want people to do is take that skills profile and start to
Mhm.
learn how to talk about yourself from a skills perspective. Talk about
Yeah.
what your skills mean and what you bring to the table. Talk about how, how you used those skills, not what you've done, but how you've used those skills, so that when you do get an
Mhm.
interview, you are better prepared to talk in a employer's language, because that's what they
Mhm.
resonate to, right?
Yeah.
And without the barriers, without the bias. You don't have to open up the conversation with, yes, I was a veteran. I served in Iraq. I did, I was a gunner's mate in the Navy, whatever, because people then block out and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
What?
Or, you come in and say, I was previously incarcerated, and they're like, I don't even
Wait a
know
minute.
what to
Yeah,
do with
exactly.
you.
Yeah.
And it's just wrong. I understand it because I've been in HR a long time. I understand the pressure on HR people from the
Mhm.
executives. HR teams are being told, you got to fill this position. You got to fill it today. Put a butt in the seat, and we really don't care if it's the right person or not, but we need somebody in that seat. But then
Right.
days later, when that person doesn't work out, they're like, why did you hire that person? Why didn't
Right.
you hire the right person? So there's a lot of pressure on HR. So we want to help them as well, make it easier. Let's just talk about skills. We don't need to
Just
talk
talk
about
about the
anything else.
skill. Let's
Yes,
highlight those. Now,
yes,
taking a broader look at things with the impact of second chance hiring, not just on individuals, but on those communities and
yes,
employers. Robyn, you have been a strong advocate for making second chance hiring a
yes,
standard, not just a policy, but a standard. So, how
yeah.
do you encourage employers to shift their mindset around this when they're so used to doing their own thing?
It's a tough conversation sometimes, but I really come back to, again, these are human beings that live in our community. The more we help them survive and thrive, the more they will give back to the community. They won't take from the community. They'll give back to the community. They'll support the businesses in the area. They'll do all these things. Their kids will thrive and support the community. We have to look at the long-term effects of not supporting these people. There are 150,000 military families that can't put food on the table. There is something wrong with that in this country. When you
True.
think about all the people who are justice impacted and also can't put food on the table, where do they go for that food? They need to get it somewhere. So they're going to either go to government assistance, or they're going to fall back on, doing bad things just to survive.
Yeah.
Why not help them as human beings? Because let's face it, in every human being's lifetime, we all need help. I don't care who you are. We all need help at some point in our lives. And you want somebody to help you. Why can't you be that person to help the person in front of you thrive? Because they're going to give back. They're going to be appreciative. They're going to be grateful that you've given them that chance. Now, there are certain circumstances, which I totally understand. There are certain jobs that, if you've got a certain kind of criminal record, you can't go into. I mean, obviously, on any port of registry and all that, you can't work with
Yeah.
children, all of that. There are circumstances about that. But I also tell employers, again, going back to, we've all made mistakes and we've just not all been caught. You don't know that the person that you hired yesterday isn't already stealing from you. You don't know that,
Right.
right? But you're going to make an assumption about somebody who's already paid for their mistake and think they're going to do it again, when in all likelihood they won't, before that
Yeah,
person
because
is
they understand the
right.
gravity of decisions like this now.
Exactly. They understand the cost of that.
Yeah.
My brother has said over and over again, when he gets out, he will never, it doesn't matter what it is, do anything that will cost him going back in. And
Yeah.
and all the people that I've worked with, there's a great program here in South Carolina called Jumpstart South Carolina. Absolutely. Don Williams, absolutely phenomenal program. 96% of the inmates they work with that come out and go through their program don't go back. Um,
That's an amazing number.
right?
Can we make this a national program? Like
Oh, they're working on it. They're working on it. Absolutely.
the
But
numbers prove it.
it does. But really, the bottom line is, I don't think there's really anybody out there. If you can give them a purpose, if you can give them a chance, if you can give them the opportunity to make money and support themselves, they're not going to want to go back to prison. So I don't know. It bothers me because I know in my lifetime I've needed help. I haven't always asked for it, but I know I've needed help along the way. I know my family members have. I know lots of friends of mine who have. Now my brother, proud man, just absolutely the best human. I want
Mhm.
him to have the opportunities. I want everybody to have the opportunities they deserve, and everybody deserves them. So
I agree. Now looking ahead, Robin, where do you see like second chance hiring and workforce inclusion going in, say, the next 5 to 10 years? I know the program with Don, it should be like a national program.
yeah,
I
yes,
just heard about that, but what
yes.
changes do you think are on the horizon that will help create even more opportunities for people who've been incarcerated, or the military veterans who face other stigmas?
Yeah. I definitely see a movement, Antoine, towards skills-based hiring, skills-first hiring. There's a lot more. SHRM, the Society of HR Management, Johnny Taylor, the president of SHRM, just put out an article last week about hiring second chance. The Manufacturing Foundation Association has just talked about second chance. We have more jobs in this country, and now that we want to bring manufacturing and all other
Back.
industries
Yeah, we're
back to
bringing
the
that back.
US, we need workers. We need people who will do the job. And second chance people are out there. Military veterans are out there. There are 18 million veterans in this country. They're 16% underemployed, and a lot of them have taken themselves out of the job market because of the barriers they face. Military spouses unemployment is 21% and has been for a decade because of the barriers. Second chance, the labor participation rate for them is so low. It's like 20% or something compared to 65% without. The workers are there. If we
I just
expect
hope they
the
pay them, Robin. I
they
just hope
have to.
they pay them. And
Well, they
that's
have
that's the
to.
problem that I think we're running
Yeah,
into now. It's like,
absolutely.
if you match them up, and these corporations or these manufacturers that are bringing back jobs, like, give them money to survive, you know?
Absolutely.
Especially, and I'm not, we don't make this a political show, but there are people that are being, deported or whatever,
Ugh,
because they feel some of those jobs a lot of the time. So
yeah, they
do you
do.
ever think there would be a point where second chance hiring isn't just a niche practice, but a mainstream expectation? Like, you get a second chance, you're going to get a good job. You're going to get a good job, not the minimum wage. We're going to pay you the bare minimum, but we're going to give you a good job matching up your skills. And if so, what would it take for that shift to happen?
I just think
Right.
time, unfortunately, I think as much as there's been allowed to be the stigma associated with veterans and second chance hiring,
Yeah.
that we have to remove that stigma, and it's going to take time. But I will tell you, 10 years ago, nobody was talking about skills-based hiring. Nobody was talking about skills first. Nobody was talking about, I mean, probably nobody, I won't say nobody, but the the conversation about second chance or even veteran hiring wasn't as strong as I feel like it is today. So I think there's definitely a move in the right direction. I've met a lot of people over these, 10 years since I've been doing this that don't like the resume either. So I think there's a shift. I think COVID did a lot for opening up the aperture for looking at people and what they can do versus what they where they've been, because we need workers, we need people to do these jobs. So I think there's a movement. Is it going fast enough for me? No.
Of course not. That's your job. You got to
Yeah.
keep pushing the envelope, Robyn. I mean, we got
Yeah.
to keep you employed.
Oh yeah, I know. It's funny you say that because I told somebody the other day, I love what I get to do every day, and I hope there's a day when I don't. But until then, I'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm working towards myself out of a job, which would be absolutely great because that would mean everybody is being valued for their skills and seen as a human being, a worthy human being.
And I agree. I appreciate your work, because what I've learned with people like you and other people that I've met throughout my journey is like, your purpose is your work, right? So you can't stop purpose. You will never stop working, Robyn. I mean, because it doesn't even feel like work. You just like doing what you do. You're passionate about what you do.
I love it.
And with that being said, there are employers that are out here. I don't know how many are listening, but there are employees who are still hesitant about giving second chance candidates or military veterans or military spouses a job. They're not giving them a fair shot. If you could talk to them, what would be a thing that what can they do to change their approach? What can they do?
I
mean,
would
besides
ask
looking
them,
past,
yeah. I would just ask them to put themselves in the shoes of that person. If it were your brother, what would you want someone to see? And I get you're hiring and your job is on the line when you bring somebody in. But if you meet somebody that has the skills, that is driven to really succeed because they're being given that second chance, and you hold them accountable just like you do any other employee, why not? Is my question. Why not give them the opportunity? If they have the skills and they have what you're looking for and they're engaged and they're ready to go, why not give them the chance? Now, there are certain ways that you can protect your company. There's bonds. States have different bonds for hiring previously incarcerated. So there are ways for companies to ease into it if that's what you feel is going to be your comfort zone, until you have some of those case studies and those success stories that tell you it's okay. And really, I think just being open-minded to it. But again, I go back to why not? Really think about when you say you can't hire somebody with a criminal record, tell me why not. Dig deep into why not. And I'm going to keep asking why. When you give me an answer, I'm going to say why. Just think about it and put yourself in their shoes. Put yourself in, if it were your brother, if it were your sister, if it were somebody in your family, if it was your son or daughter, like what would you do, or what would you want somebody to do for them? And why can't you do that for the person that's sitting in front of you? So
that's awesome, man. I know we gotta really do this again, because
yes.
you've been so grateful, and I mean not necessarily, you've just been so open and transparent about your struggles and being able to get this word out. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your incredible insights. It's clear that second chance hiring is more than just an opportunity.
Yes.
It's a necessary step in transforming communities and creating a fairer, more inclusive workforce.
Absolutely.
Now, Robyn, if you give like any final thoughts or a final message, especially like how do we get in touch with the Ascend Collective?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is theascendcollective.org. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook as well. So just reach out to us. Our email address is talentsuccess@theascendcollective.org. You can find us there. But yeah, just find us and reach out if you've got questions. We're happy to, do anything we can to help guide anybody through this process, whether it's an employer just really wanting to think outside of the box, get rid of the box altogether,
There
just
you go.
really think about your community, because there are people out there that deserve a second chance and want to work hard and want a better life for themselves and their families. And if you help them, they're going to pay it forward and they're going to give back. I guarantee it. So,
Well, amen to that. I didn't want to make it that kind of show, but it's my birthday today, so I'm
happy
grateful.
birthday.
Yeah, I am. Thank you so much. I got my shirt on and everything.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't have any plans though, guys. Everyone knows that I'm pretty much a homebody. I got 3 little boys that like take up most of my time, so there won't be any, elaborate stuff. It's like, let's do this interview and like go have dinner. So if you are an employer listening today, I encourage you to take the time to rethink your hiring practices.
Yes.
There's a wealth of untapped talent out there, as Robyn has pointed out. And by giving second chance candidates a shot, you're not just changing a life, you're transforming your community, not our community, your community. Okay. So for those of you listening who may have a criminal record or face other barriers like, getting out of the military, can't get a job, remember that your past doesn't define you. There are resources and organizations like the Ascend Collective that are here to help you take that first step. So if you enjoyed today's conversation, please share it with someone you know. Let's continue to break down the stigma and create pathways for opportunity. And don't forget to subscribe to our website and our socials at the Conviction Fiction Podcast and the Ascend Collective. You will see their information in our socials from now on. All right. All right. So thank you, Robyn, for again, for your time, and to our listeners, thank you for your support. Until next time, take care and keep making a difference. Robyn, don't go nowhere. I want you to stay right here real quick. I'm just going to close out the show. I just want to give a follow-up, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you, Anton.